Nin of Eternal Youth. May Day, Queen of Spring, Virgin Mother. 3 apples fell from heaven, one for the teller of this tale, one for the listener, and one for him who heeds the teller's words. May Day, May Day! Illusion, as the sages tell us, is not the same as falsehood. This transmission has been brewing for the past 16 days, and finalmente is ripe and ready, ripe and juicy. As many of you might know, I just left Britain after 3 incredible weeks adventuring and discovering the land of Avalon, and indeed, the question rises, are the apples of Avalon still good? Somebody asked me. Before serving you a drink and food of ambrosia, this journey today is necessary. As I was in Avalon's land, I've locked myself in deep, deep listening amidst the red and the white spring, in the gardens and along ancient paths of migration and pilgrimage, very important energetical points for the ley lines, and where specific lines not only cross, yet twirl and create electromagnetic, very, very potent fields. And so, after savoring our amuse bouche that preceded this transmission, which you will find linked in the comment box or in the description box, and following the first apple, now it is time to bring some light on our basket. So buckle up, grab a cuppa, perhaps a notepad, and let us venture for the path ain't breve. Note for the listener. This transmission has been written and streamed on the 17th of May, 2024. Have a good listen. Has spring officially reawoken almost everywhere, following a very tight and precise appointment since April 8th? We left behind a very powerful full moon on April 24th, my besotted birthday, and 25th, the end of Mercury retrograde with Beltane on the last of the month, and May Day on indeed the 1st. Recap. There is always an eclipse before the break of dawn. Time is now for illusions to fall apart once and for all. A very sought after mystical fruit, yearned by many, has our attention this evening. The Greek word chrysomelia, in Latin pomum aurantium, both literally describe oranges as golden apples. I know what you're thinking already. This is about Eden, the snake, the sin, blah, blah, blah. Yawn. No, the unnamed fruit of the Garden of Eden became an apple under the influence of the story of the golden ones in yet another garden. Emblem for temptation, sin, knowledge, and the fall of man. In secular art, it is a symbol of love and sexuality. The apples, in all following cases, are solid gold, beautiful to behold, and grant immortality. Where to begin, if not from the end? The phrase, "an apple a day keeps the doctor away," is thought to originate from the symbolic health giving properties of the apples in Norse tradition. So come here to Mama Mir for your weekly medicina. Once upon a time, there was Maya, the eldest of the Pleiades, the seven nymphs of the homonym constellation. Job 38:31 says, "Can you bind the beautiful Pleiades? Can you loose the cords of Orion?" And Sappho once more. The moon is set, and the Pleiades. Night's half gone, time's passing. I sleep alone now. Alfred Tennyson, Locksley Hall, says, "Many a night I saw the Pleiades rising through the mellow shade, glitter like a swarm of fireflies tangled in a silver braid." So who were these sisters? And how does this all wave together? Seven sisters, several of the most prominent Olympian gods you see, including Zeus and Poseidon and Ares or Hades, had entertained in affairs with the seven heavenly sisters. And these relationships resulted in the birth of children. Maya, her mistress of this evening, eldest of the seven Pleiades, mother by Zeus. Electra, mother of Dardanus, and Jason Jasone by Zeus. Taigete, mother of Lacedemone, Lacedemon, I guess in English, by Zeus. Alcyone, mother of Hyrieus by Poseidon. Cheleno, mother of Lycus, and Euripylus by Poseidon. Sterope, or also known as Asterope, mother of Enomaus by Ares, and Merope, youngest of the seven, was wooed by Orion. And we know how in other mythic contexts, in fact, the latter one, Merope, married Sisyphus instead and becoming mortal and faded away. She bore to Sisyphus several sons, or so the sources say. And so that would mean that all of them, six, except one, consorted with gods. Right after Atlas was forced to carry the heavens on his shoulders, Orion began to chase and pursue all of the sisters. And so to save them and secure them, Zeus transformed them first into doves and then into stars to comfort their father Atlas. And so it is said that the constellation of Orion still pursues them across the night sky. Some myths also touch upon how Electra doesn't shine. She is said to have left her place so that she would not have to look down upon the ruins of Troy and weep, since her beloved son had founded the very city her son was Dardanus. We could digress and telling more stories about such sisters, and yet today the story is about one. She was a shy goddess who dwelt alone in a cave near the peaks of Mount Selene in Arcadia, where she secretly gave birth to a son. And we shall pick this up at the end. So it was that the North gods in Asgard retained their healthy vitality by being administered such aptly, nuts or pomes by her loving hands. Her name, up north, was Idun in Old Norse. Idunn, the giver of eternal youth. As the tricks of the current keepers of time, the golden fruits are being kept away from the masses. That old trickster and troublemaker of Loki one day got into disagreement with the giant Thiazi, and so to end the fight, he promised to kidnap Idun and give her to him. Loki lured her into the forest so to take her off to Jotunheim, the realm of the giants. Sounds familiar? The first festive occurrence that comes to mind, since we're here to celebrate, will be the time that Gaia offered golden apples to the wedding day of Hera and Zeus, or Jove, Jupiter. So let's take a walk in the garden of the Hesperides, Le Hesperidi, together. This is where the tree of the immortal golden apples grows. Under the orders of the goddess Hera, the 3 daughters of Hesperide, the evening star, tend daily to the tree, whilst the poems are guarded by a servant dragon named Ladone. As one of his famous 12 labors, Heracles or Achille is set on the ultimate heroic task of stealing such treasure. And artistic representations of how Hercules achieves this might vary from source to source. So you are invited to go and check your sources, dear ones. In the protected ballet, here enters the scene Eris, goddess of discord. Here she's seen taking one of the golden apples. Eris is of uncertain etymology, connections with the verb orinein, to rise, stir, and excite. And the proper name, Erines, is being suggested. For those of you non-familiar with this storyline, she's pretty pissed off, hey, and downbeat mad for not receiving an official invitation to the above-mentioned wedding feast. And so this is the very act which kickstarts the event leading to the judgment of Paride, or Paris, and the Trojan War. And here we have the casus belli. For who's not well versed or a little bit rusty with your Latin, I gotcha. A casus belli from bellum, war, is an act seen as a justifying or the protest for causing war. As we can see, Ares had become pretty disgruntled, right? Pretty annoyed after this feeling excluded. And so she arrives at the celebration with a golden apple, which is very hard to get, guys. I mean, you gotta, as we said, pass through that 100-headed dragon Ladone. And there were several Hesperidi, right? So that wasn't an easy task. So Eris, goddess of discord, and from here, the name, the apple of discord, she throws this apple onto the table of the wedding feast, into the proceedings, upon which was the inscription Callisti, which could translate for the fairest, for the most beautiful one. And so 3 goddesses rush up to get it and claim it. Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Since the gods were getting a little bit clingy, Zeus decides to invest, to robe and clothe the mortal prince Paride, of Troy, as the appointed, in fact, to select the recipient of such title. And while Paris inspected them, each attempted with her powers to bribe him. Hera offered him to make him the king of Europe and Asia. Aphrodite offered the world's most beautiful woman. Athena offered wisdom and skill in war. And so, who was such woman that Aphrodite offered? That was Helen of Sparta, daughter of Leda, twin of one of the Dioscuri, and sister of Clytemnestra and the other Dioscuro. Therefore, one of the offsprings of Zeus, who charmed Leda under the faction of a swan and merged with her. From that union, an egg, and that is why ab ovo, an egg was formed, and from there, Ellen was born. I digress. So Ellen was the wife of the king Menelaus. And surely Paris accepts the gift of Aphrodite. You can bet it. And awards the apple to her. Later on, he adopts her, and all Greece indeed declares war against Troy, causing the Trojan War and the eventual destruction of the mighty city. All the gods were invited at the wedding of Peleo and Thetis. Now, in other version is the wedding of Zeus and Hera. So we gotta go with our feelings, yeah. Homer, for example, alludes to the judgment of Paris, and yet has no mention of Eris. The satirist Lucian, about the 2nd century AD, tells us that Eris' apple was actually in solid gold, and that it was inscribed for the Queen of Beauty. We know that Eris personifies strife, and particularly strife associated with war. So we know that there's a lot of personification. Peter Paul Rubens picks up the golden apple with his depiction of the judgment of Paris, based on the version of the events by Roman poet Lucian. And the consequences of selling Helena by the hands of the gods are foretold in the sky, where Alecto, one of the 3 Furies, is seen blowing up into a pretty serious rage. It's time to pay more attention to the skies, all of yous. And as I periodically like to remind us, we go from the revelation to the origin, to a new Genesis. And yet, before I reveal to you who such child is, who is the son of Maya, let us take another little stroll. Are you still with me? The Hindu goddess Maya made her masculine counterpart, Ya-Ma, into a conductor of souls and lord of death. The name of this creatrix might have reached the Western Hemisphere also. The Maya people of Yucatan offered sacrifices during the same seasons, determined by the same stars, just like in India. Mayan scorpion stars were the same as the constellation Scorpio on Hindu and Greek charts. Another version of the creatress appears in the robes of the mother goddess Mayawel of the Mexican agave, called Woman with 400 Breasts, which resembles to the world-nurturing Artemis with the many breasts. She was also Maga, the grandmother goddess, who bore Cuchulain's mother, and the Mandingan Christian Almaya, called Eternity, or the world, or beings. And Maga, or Maj, Mai, May Maiden in Scandinavia. Like the Hindu Maya who brought forth earthly appearance at creation, the Scandinavian one personified the pregnant womb of chaos before the beginning. Ginnungaga. In this, the world virgin was associated with the idea of magical illusion, creating appearances like her Hindu counterpart, the preeminent enigma ever giving birth. She was creatrix, preserver, destroyer. She was a spirit dwelling perpetually in women. A Mahayana text says, of all the forms of Maya, woman is the most important. Hindus said Agni, the fire god, was the consort of Kalimaya, though he was periodically swallowed up and quenched by her. According to the tantric phrase, the goddess quenched a blazing lingam in her yoni. Maya is one of those active powers, the constant movement of the universe, pervasive to the atomic level. There is no life, no existence, even without Maya, and yet she's so powerful that we cannot see the essence of things and mistake her movement for reality. Maya lived alone in a cave, where secretly gave birth to, drum rolls, the god Hermes, by uniting with Zeus. Queen of Spring, Virgin Mother of the God of Death, she provides the apples of life. And so, was it Beltane, the birthday of her son? And how is that Hera kept control over the garden where the tree resided? And the three Mai, the three Magus, visit little Yeshua at his birth. At Midsummer Feast and Beltane, many dance around the maypole. In Hindu thought, one must keep in mind that the male energy is passive in essence, whilst the female is the force of and in action. She is one of those active powers, the constant movement of the universe, pervasive to the atomic level, to the quantum and trillium. Maya is often called the veil of illusion, the dance of the many aspects that distract us so that we cannot see all matter as essentially identical. May you not mistake her movement for reality. Illusion, however, as the sages have stressed, is not the same as falsehood. Focus is essential, for it is easy to be distracted by her magnificent creativity and complex multistructure. Surely a lot of entertainment is rampant today. May you learn to focus, if that is what God wills. A little note, Mercurius must not be merely achieved, yet handled. That, my dears, in all alchemical ways, is the most challenging thing, and yet in many wet ways ceases to exist after the vessel opens. Is not a fortuity that Venus providing the golden apples to Hippomene? Viewed through alchemical lenses, Venus represents a mercurial face preceding Atalanta. She must be made fixed, and thus turn into Atalanta. To adopt our Atalanta Mercurius to its role as a dissolver, we have slow down her volatility inside our vessel or fix it. Thus, if Hippomenes wants to marry her, he has to stop her from getting her fixed. The intelligent boy throws 3 golden apples to arouse Atalanta's curiosity, as you can see in the images. Mercurius must be turned into Mercurius Philosophorum, and there are different means to do so by the Magnum Opus order. I personally have my own order. Often all we need is philosopher's gold. And so in wet ways, Mercurius is not uniquely bound to a dissolving task. Keep in mind, we are not talking in a chemical literal sense, and yet in an alchemical one. Alchemical operations are far fewer in number than allegories representing them. Atalanta Fugiens puts on display the gold sewing in Terra Alba Fogliata, Alchemical symbolism is nasty and yet not redundant. So, what have we learned today? We have learned that dissolving, volatilizing, and incrudation are not the same operation. The real fixative marriage is to achieve a volatile fixation. And just a note, alchemy is not really interested in molecular purity and yet simply in the amount of secret fire inside. It will be wise to ask themselves if the Newtonian apple was red or else, and yet we leave this for another time. It is time for this Hegelian dialectic to be taken in serious consideration. Time for a new beginning. About time, huh? And as an old geese, I would say, you like them apples? Nullius in verba, in baracas, my dear ones. But is it baraka a blessing, or is it a knee bending before another idol? That would be your snack reflection for today. Never forget, you are the creator of apples in their cluster. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Miriam Lev, and this is On the Edge of the Void.